We have so much to get to in this edition of the Florida Forecast. What's going on, guys? I'm certified meteorologist Jonathan Kagas. First and foremost, have you noticed the haze out there? A lot of the state of Florida is seeing it. It's all because of wildfire smoke all the way up from those big fires burning in eastern Canada. I'll show you that coming up in just 1 second and when it gets on out of here as well. Then I will take you on a trip across Florida from north, central to south to break down your pinpoint forecast for your day on October 4th, which is Wednesday. And we keep on talking about it. This is the biggest news I have for you if you hate the heat. The first big front, cold front of the season looks poised to move through this weekend and early next week. I'm going to show you what it does to our temperatures. It will have you reaching for the pumpkin spice and busting out the Ugg boots across parts of Florida. Before we get into the video, if you do want to stay updated on all things Florida weather, you have to hit subscribe. Please do that, and you'll be updated. If you find this content helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It does help us out a lot. All right. This is what Daytona Beach looked like at about 11 o'clock on October 3rd. That is not fog. That is all haze. Very, very thick haze from the wildfire smoke that has pushed down the eastern seaboard and has entered into Florida as a result of a couple of storm systems weather systems anyway, working in tandem to kind of deliver it right down the eastern seaboard and put it right on into the state of Florida. I'll show you this from a satellite perspective. The satellite here has the channel looking for this particulate matter that is burning from the smoke, so we can get a kind of clear view where that smoke is. You see rolling right down the eastern seaboard. Big concentrations. The darker the blue and purple, the higher the concentration of smoke is. The air quality in parts of the state, as you may imagine, is pretty poor on this Tuesday, October 3rd. So the highest concentration still out at sea. We could see that kind of pinwheel through before all is said and done. We have some thick smoke through Georgia and then light to moderate concentrations of smoke through a lot of the state of Florida. But we can certainly see the haze again if you look outside, if you've been outside again, starting on Monday night and then really through Tuesday morning. We can get a better view of where that thick concentration of haze is, and the visible satellite imagery in real time shows us where we have the clouds. That's clouds kind of blossoming through as we look out over to the Atlantic. But if you look closely, notice this haze and that dark channel on the satellite has not updated to be in real time. This is real time. We can see how thick it is. That film on your screen here, moving all the way through. I'll get my arrows back off. And if you look closely there, that haze or that film that's showing up on the satellite channel is what we can see if you just poke your head outside. And again, if you are certainly susceptible to particulate matter and you're in that sensitive category especially, it's a good idea for today and tomorrow to keep things indoors. We are going to see things improve by tomorrow afternoon. But again, this is certainly unhealthy for sensitive groups, and even for the general population that are healthy, you may start to come down with a little something. You may start to feel it a little ugly outside in certain parts of Florida because the wildfire smoke from way up in Canada is so thick. I want to show you this. Here's the deal. This is going to be the future model here. So this is going to be the model showing us the smoke. But the reason why it's coming down, we have a big chunk of high pressure right through here. We have another big storm system right here. All of the fires are burning just south of the Hudson Bay, where you see that kind of blue color here. So that's where the main event is, and it's kind of being pulled and then pushed down the eastern seaboard. So we have, let me pull out my other arrows here. We have counterclockwise flow around areas of high pressure, areas of low pressure, forcing it down the eastern seaboard. We have clockwise flow around areas of high pressure, kind of pulling it out of the Atlantic and then transporting it right down into Florida. So those two systems there working in tandem to bring all of this smoke that's been generated from those big wildfires just south of the Hudson Bay right down the eastern seaboard of the United States and then right into Florida. For our weather, it's going to be drier than what we've seen over the past few days, and I'm going to get into that in just 1 second here in your pinpoint Florida forecast. So again, temperatures again are going to be back to the middle 80s. I want to take you closer in and show you that we are going to see improvements here. This is 8-9 o'clock on your Wednesday morning. Certainly the further north you are, the thicker the smoke that we are going to continue to see. We're going to hang on to a little bit of that on the Gulf Coast of Florida. And once we get this black color back, that is just a plain old mapping of the map I have on the screen there. So once you see that black color, that's when we've kind of gotten rid of every little bit of smoke. So by the time we get to Thursday, most of the smoke still hanging on Orlando area and then points north before it gradually dissipates out of here, as we do have a front coming through, and that front is going to mean business for us as we move further on into the work week. I want to show you the drier air that is pouring in, that high pressure not only delivering the smoke from the Canadian wildfires, but it's also drawing in some relatively drier air to the state as a result of that, again, that clockwise flow kind of pushing in that northerly breeze. So all of this orange you see on your screen really invading most of Florida, that is that drier air that is going to continue to infiltrate and keep rain chances lower. Now, there's a caveat to that. Remember those clouds I showed you off of the Atlantic coastline? We still have the breeze off of the Atlantic, so we are going to be able to generate scattered showers, maybe a rogue rumble of thunder. Couple of downpours in the mix as well. So here's 7 o'clock on Tuesday. Most of us are dry. Notice we do have a few teeny tiny downpours west of Fort Lauderdale, south of Fort Pierce, closer to Okeechobee, maybe trying to push through Naples as well. Once we get into Wednesday, I do think some of these downpours become a little more prolific. This is 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, so don't be surprised. Daytona Beach, Titusville, into Fort Pierce, a lot of Brevard County gets in on these downpours that are pushing in off of the Atlantic. That's 5 o'clock on your Wednesday, and we still have a few scattered downpours. So it's not like the craziness we've had over the past couple of days where we're looking for these widespread, big, heavy rain making thunderstorms out there like we've had. They're going to be more hit or miss, more downpours, but they are going to focus themselves closer to the coast. So that's going to be the theme through the middle and latter stages of this week. Once we get into the weekend, that's when we have the change. We're going to continue to watch. We're watching a cold front. I will say there are two different model solutions that really come to the same conclusion that this front is coming through. One is a little more aggressive than the other. The American GFS has some places getting into the 40s in North Florida. So this is a big front no matter how you slice it. And I do think some of us on the Florida Panhandle are going to be flirting with the 40s. Here is the upper level pattern as we move through Sunday. This is the European, so it keeps the bulk of the cold, as it typically is anyway, towards the Great Lakes, towards the Northeast, towards Southeast Canada. But this dip in the jet stream, because they have a ridge out here, dip in the jet stream all the way towards the deep south, including Florida, allows that cooler air to spill in. So that is what's going on in the upper levels of our atmosphere. That is the weather pattern that is going to be causing this gigantic change. And the first big fall front of the season, we had a taste of it a couple of weekends ago. This one's going to be even bigger. So here we go, 7 o'clock on Saturday morning. We have 60s and 70s. Okay, we've been there before. But watch what happens as we go forward. Again, Saturday's a gorgeous day. Okay, look at this. Those lighter greens start to show up. And by Sunday morning, it starts to arrive. It starts to get here, at least for parts of Florida, the Florida Panhandle, Pensacola, Tallahassee. Some of us are waking up in the 50s for us in North Florida. Front still has yet to make it through Central Florida, but look what happened Sunday afternoon. Highs in the low to mid 70s in Jacksonville, Tallahassee, Pensacola, Port St. Joe, Apalachicola. Low to mid 80s in Central Florida. Still hanging on to the low to mid 80s with a little more humidity in South Florida. But then watch what happens Monday morning. I think it's going to be the coolest morning of the bunch. And this is where right through the interior Panhandle, maybe even as far to the east as Jacksonville, we could get some readings in the upper 40s. I would not be surprised. Again, this is the European model rendition. I think it's a little too warm. I think it's taking a little bit too long to catch on. It has been kind of trending toward the American GFS solution, so that's something that we look for as well in terms of the cooler air spilling down. So that's Monday morning. Ocala, we're in the 60s. I think we have a shot to be in the 50s in Ocala on Monday morning, in the low 60s in Orlando. Look at this, mid-70s, still hanging on. Look at the afternoon. In Orlando, Ocala, a lot of Central Florida, maybe having one of our first refreshing afternoons in the 70s in quite some time. Look at that, high temperatures in Ocala. Orlando may struggle to get to the 80s. So that is our taste of fall. Same for us in Fort Myers. There's the front, makes it through. Miami, Marco Island, we're still in the low to mid 80s, but look at that, Fort Pierce, 70s, Fort Myers, lower 70s. Finally, that cooler air is arriving for us if you are a fan of it. If you don't like the cold, it's not going to get cold per se. Find the jacket though. I think some of us less hardy folk may want that Sunday morning and Monday morning. We're going to keep obviously keep you posted on how this front transpires across the country over the coming days. And again, we're looking at it to start to knock on our door in North Florida on Saturday and then blast through Sunday into Monday through the rest at least most of the rest of Florida. You see we're hanging on to some of that heat in the extreme southern tip of the Sunshine State. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you found this content helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to stay updated on all things Florida weather, you have to hit subscribe. Please do that, and we will catch you next time.